Hi, and welcome to Gardening Time. Today I'm going to go over all the varieties of bulbs that I planted. Oh, I got some huge stacks here that are like falling all over the place here. But I'm going to go over all of the bulbs that we planted in the fall of 2021 for this spring 2022. And I've got a ton of bulbs. This is the most bulbs that we have planted here, period. And will probably be the last large batch, I imagine. Well, at least for a while. Anyhow, so I got a whole bunch of bulbs, all different varieties. I've got tulips, daffodils, hyacinths, crocuses, and alliums. So a whole bunch of different things. So I'm going to go through all of them. I'm going to let you know how many bulbs of each I planted, and tell you a little bit about each one of them. So they might be a variety that maybe you don't have that you might want to add to your collection. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so the first one, I've got my notepad here. Okay, so the first one we have here is called, it's a daffodil called Replete. This is a double daffodil, and I planted 18 of these out in the garden. These are a pink and white variety. So as you can see from the photo, they have like pink petals and then roughly pink parts, roughly centers, I don't know what you want to call them, that fringe the lining in between the petals. These are zone 3 to 8, and they get between 12 to 18 inches high. And they typically bloom in mid-spring. So another thing that I did was I wanted to make sure that I stretched out my bulb season as long as I could. So I tried to get early spring, mid-spring, and late spring blooming varieties, so to kind of stretch the season out. So the next variety we have here is a daffodil called Pink Charm. There were 18 of these in the box, but these I ended up buying on clearance, and it was like I think it was like early December, and quite a few of the bulbs had already kind of dried out, and it wasn't even worth planting. But I ended up finding 6 that looked pretty viable, so I planted 6 of these. These are pink and white, and you can see here the petals are white, and then the cup part of it is comes out a pink color. And these are zoned 3 to 8, and they typically get 12 to 18 inches high, and these are a mid-spring bloomer. Okay, the next variety we have here is a tulip called Hope Blooms. And I planted 18 of these out in the garden. These are a white and pink mottling color. I don't know how well you can see from the photo. And they typically grow 12 to 16 inches high. Next variety we've got here is a tulip called Beauty in Pink. And this one, I planted 18 of these out in the garden, and this is a pink and purple mix, and they get between 16 to 20 inches tall. Oh, this next variety, I am totally in love with this. This is a tulip called Angelique. Now this tulip, I planted 46 of these out in the garden. And this tulip typically gets 16 to 20 inches tall. It is a double tulip, and it's fragrant. And as you can see from the picture, it's absolutely gorgeous. It almost looks like a peony kind of. And this one, it's light pink in color, double petals, and it also has double blooms. So that means that typically in tulips, they come up on a single stem, and you usually get one bloom on a stem. Well, on this variety, you actually have multiple blooms on one stem, which is amazing. Okay. The next one I have is a allium called affluenza. I might be mispronouncing that. I planted 28 of these out in the garden, and these have lilac, like a light lilac-y, purpley head to them. They get huge heads between 4 to 5 inches in width, and they're like these round, beautiful purple globes. And they're great for beneficial insects as well. And these get 24 inches to 36 inches tall. So they're rather tall, and you know they send up these really tall, narrow stems, and then you get these beautiful globe purple heads on them. Oh, absolutely gorgeous. I can't wait to see these come up. Okay, so this next variety of allium is called a Persian Blue. And this one, we planted 5 of these out in the garden. This one is a purpley blue. It has purpley blue color heads on it, and it's zoned 3 to 8, and it gets between 34 to 36 inches tall. And this one blooms in late spring. Actually, most alliums do bloom in late spring, early summer. The next variety we have is a tulip called Blushing Apeldoorn. Again, I might be mispronouncing that. Let me know in the comments if I am. This one, I planted 20 of these out into the garden, and these absolutely gorgeous. These are a golden yellow blushed with tangerine and red edges. And these get about 22 inches tall, and they are a mid to late spring bloomer. All right. The next ones we have are some daffodils. This is just a daffodil mix. I didn't really write down anything other than that. So it's a I can read on the back of the box. So it's, I planted 10 of these out in the garden, and these typically get 12 to 16 inches tall and are zoned 2 through 10. And bloom time is mid-spring. Okay, the next daffodil, tulips that we have is a tulip called Spring Delight Mix, and I planted 10 of these out into the garden. These are a Darwin hybrid, and they are zoned 2 to 8, and they get 18 to 22 inches high. So this is a nice tall variety. This would probably be an excellent one for cutting to put into vases and arrangements. All right, next page. So next we have a crocus mix. I planted out quite a few crocus varieties this year, and one of the big reasons I was leaning towards crocuses is they are one of the first bulb flowers to come up in the spring, and I wanted to make sure we were planning on getting honeybees this year, and so I wanted to make sure we had a lot of pollen in as many different seasons as we could for the pollinators. So crocus is an excellent one for that. So we got the spring mix. I planted 60 of these out into the garden. My next crocus is a botanical mix. I planted 18 of these out, and the crocuses are zoned, these are zoned 3 to 9. This has colors of purple, purple and white stripe, and yellow. They get around 6 inches high, so they're really short, and early spring bloomers. Okay, the next one is another crocus variety. This one is called Ruby Giant. I planted 70 of these out in the garden. Have large purple heads with orange anthers, And these only get 3 to 4 inches high. So these are a shorter variety, but they get a much bigger flower head. Okay, the next variety we have is a Siberia Tricolor. I planted 10 of these out in the garden. These as well are on the shorter side. They only get 3 to 4 inches high. And these, from what I was reading, are considered one of the most striking in the crocus family. They get large, fragrant purple petals with golden throats. So nice, again, for fragrance. This is another one for fragrance. So I love getting flowers with that fragrance, so you can go out and actually smell some of them, some of the scents from them. Okay. The next crocus variety I have is a crocus called Bars Purple. This one I planted 70 of these out into the garden. These get about 4 inches high and are zoned 4 to 8. They're violet color with beautiful orange centers. They have grass-like foliage with silver striping in the leaf of the plant. So their leaves actually look like blades of grass. And the cool thing with this variety is not only do you have interest in the flower itself, but the blades of their foliage are striped with silvery outer edges. Okay, the next variety I have here is a Hyacinth mix, and I have 5 of these. These get about 10 inches tall, and they flower in mid-spring, and they're zones 4 to 8, and you can see all the beautiful different colors there. So I think I planted these in our front bed in front of the in the front of our house. Okay. Next variety is another hyacinth, and this one is hyacinth oriental shades of blue. I planted 10 of these out in the garden. Okay, the next variety I have here is a hyacinth oriental blue and pink mix, and we planted 10 of these out in the garden. These are zone 4 to 8, and they bloom in mid-spring, and they get about 8 inches tall. The next hyacinth I planted was this one, and oh my god, I cannot wait to see this one come up. Out of all the hyacinths, this one I am most excited about. It's just so beautiful looking. It is a hyacinth called Fondant, and this one, we planted 8 of these, and this one is blush pink with dark pink centers, and I just think from the photographs it looks absolutely gorgeous. This one is zoned 4 to 8, and it is a mid-spring bloomer and gets about 8 inches high. Okay, the next thing we planted is a daffodil called Teti. And again, I'm probably butchering some of these names. And if I am, you know, let me know in the comments if I'm saying something incorrectly. This one we planted 25 of these. Now these are miniature daffodils, and they are a beautiful, they have light yellow colored petals on the outside, and then the inner cup of them is a more darker color of yellow, and they are fragrant. They're zoned 3 to 8, and these get 6 to 8 inches high. And they typically bloom in early spring along with the crocuses. Okay, the next series we have are irises. These are the miniature irises, the iris reticulata. Yeah, reticulata. Mix. And this one we planted 25 of these out in the garden. These are zoned 3 to 7. And these typically get about 5 inches high, and they bloom again in early spring. So along with the crocuses and the miniature daffodils. Okay, another reticulata is the Iris Botanical Harmony. And this one is a beautiful purpley blue in color. I planted 35 of these out in the garden. All right, next one up is, this one is a double tulip called Averon. And I planted 36 of these out in the garden. And these are absolutely another stunner along with the Angelique. This one is a dark rose color with white streaking. It has been said that this one closely resembles a rose. And it is zoned 3 to 7. It gets between 14 to 22 inches tall. And it blooms in late spring. Most of your double tulips will actually bloom in late spring, whereas of the single petaled tulips typically bloom in mid-spring. So, all right, the next one we have is a tulip called Negrita. And this one, we planted 24 of these out in the garden. These ones are like a purpley burgundy color with violet overtones. Beautiful tulip. Very popular one as well. This one is fragrant. So again, another plus for this one. And it blooms mid-spring. It has sturdy stems. And it gets between 16 to 18 inches in height. Okay, next variety is an allium called Gladiator. I planted 10 of these out in the garden. These are one of the tallest in the allium family. Not the tallest, but one of the tallest. And this one is zoned 4 to 8. This one gets between 3 to 4 feet tall. It blooms in late spring, early summer. Okay, the next variety is a tulip variety called Rembrandt. These are absolutely gorgeous. I planted these in our west side garden all along the back edge. I planted 90 of these, and they are striped and splattered with red, white, and yellow. So this is just going to be a really fun mix to see come up. These are zoned 3 to 8, and they get between 24 to 26 inches high and typically bloom in late spring. All right, next we have a daffodil called Ice Follies. We planted 30 of these out in the garden. These are have a creamy white outer petal with a buttery yellow frilly inner cup. They're zoned 3 to 8 and get between 12 to 18 inches high, and they bloom in mid-spring. And the blooms on these can last up to 1 month. So this is a nice variety for how long the actual flowers last on this one. Okay, another tulip called Parisima. This one we planted 28 of these out in the garden. These are white with a creamy yellow center. These are one of the best tulips for naturalizing. There are several tulip varieties that actually don't naturalize that well in our area. But this one is one of the ones that is really good and really known for naturalizing. It also is fragrant. It has a lemony scent to it, and it is zoned 3 to 8, It gets between 12 to 18 inches high, and it blooms April to May. Another variety is, this one is called Giant Snowdrops. These are so cool. These, when they first appear, the foliage just looks like a bunch of grass, like coming up, much like the crocus. But the grass, what do you call it? The leaves are on, anyhow, they get much taller than the crocus do. So it just looks like a big patch of green grass. And then from that, you get these beautiful white flowers that kind of droop over, and they have like green dots all around the bottom edges of the flower. Really beautiful flower. So I planted 10 of these out in the garden. These are zoned 4 to 8. They get between 14 to 16 inches high, and they bloom in late spring. Okay, another beautiful tulip. This one is called Apricot Fox. I planted 12 of these out in the garden. These are orange and pink in color, and they are zoned 3 to 7, and they get between 16 to 20 inches high, and they are a mid-spring bloomer. Another beautiful double daffodil called nasha. I planted 10 of these out in the garden. These are another fragrant daffodil. They are white with apricot pink ruffles in the centers. And they are zoned 3 to 8, and they get between 16 to 18 inches high, and they're a late spring bloomer. Next tulip is a tulip called Carnival de Nice. I planted 10 of these out in the garden. These are a double, and they are red and white stripes, and they're zoned 3 to 7, and they get between 14 to 20 inches tall, and they bloom in late spring. Okay, another beautiful tulip. This is a single called Flaming Flag. This one, we planted 14 of these out in the garden. These are red and like a purpley burgundy streaks in them. They are zoned 3 to 8. They get between 16 to 20 inches tall, and bloom in mid-spring. Okay. These are also, I was reading, these ones are one of the few varieties that actually do well in partial shade as well. Another daffodil we planted was called Yellow Cheerfulness. This one we planted 37 of these out in the garden. These are a pale to bright yellow in color when they come out, and this one also has several flower heads per stem, and it's fragrant, which is I'm awesome. Zones 3 to 8, and this one is 10 to 14 inches tall and blooms in late spring. Next one, the next 1, 2, 3, the last 3 are ones that I ordered online, and they didn't really have any packaging with them, so I'll put some pictures up on the screen. Is the next variety is a crocus called, it's Saffron. And yes, this is actually where you get saffron, the spice saffron from. It comes from these crocuses, and you can grow these in the United States. So we ended up ordering 35 of these. These are fall blooming crocuses. Typically crocuses, they bloom in the early spring. This variety is actually blooms in the fall. They are light purple with dark streaks, and they have dark red stamens. The stamens are the ones that are picked for the spice, and you usually get, I think, 2 to 3 per flower. And they do have to be hand-picked, and that's one of the reasons why when you buy that spice in the store, it's typically quite pricey. The zone for these is zone 5 to 8. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed that these grow well in our area, because we're actually on the high end of a 5, a low end of a zone 4. I'm hoping that they do well in our area, and I will keep you updated on them. I am sure I will do a video of those and let you know how those do in our area. So they typically get between 4 to 6 inches high, and as I said, they bloom in early fall. The next tulip variety I got was a tulip called Finola Double. I planted 25 of those out in the garden. Those are a rosy cream color, and this one actually does as well kind of resemble an actual rose. It is zoned 3 to 7, and it gets 16 to 18 inches high, blooms in late spring, and it is a fragrant, yay! And then the last variety we got was a daffodil mixture called Butterfly. These are absolutely gorgeous. I cannot wait to see these come up. We planted 25 of these out in the garden. These have a split corona. The corona is the actual cut part of the daffodil. And in breeding these, the corona has split and flared open, and it does kind of almost resemble like a butterfly type appearance. And the mix includes whites, yellows, and pinks, intermixed. And this is zoned 3 to 8. These get between 12 to 16 inches high, and they bloom in mid-spring. So there it is, guys. That is what we got planted. When I added up my totals, I think it came, hold on, I had it written down here. Yes, 921. So that's how many bulbs we planted. I know to some people that's probably going to be like a drop in the bucket. It's going to be like, oh yeah, I do that every year. Or I do, 3 times that much. But for us, that was like the most we've ever done. I think I usually only do like a couple hundred a year, if that. So I am just so excited to see all of these varieties come up this year and to see how they all do. And I definitely will be giving you guys a tour and showing you those as well when they come up, so you can see what they look like. If there's a variety or two that you are really interested in, you'll be able to see how it performs, at least in our area, and actually what it actually looks like when it does come up. So thank you guys for joining me today, and hope you guys are having a blessed day, and we will see you in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.